This is a series where I review 3 titles and I choose each title based on a similarity that their covers have. For this week, I chose Almost Kiss. This is covers where the characters are almost kissing. It is sort of a cheat because all 3 titles for this week are by the same author, which is Lucy Parker. So the first title is Act Like It, the second is Pretty Face, and the third is the Austin Playbook. These books are all part of the same series, her London celebrity series. So the first title is Act Like It by Lucy Parker. I only stumbled upon Parker not recently, a few months back, but I loved everything about her writing style. This plot specifically is a fake dating trope, but the concept of Parker's is set in the theater scene of London, which made it almost seem not tropey because the treatment done in this book was excellent, and since it was set in London, we were treated to the dry humor of the Commonwealth, which I appreciated. She took witty to another level. I can't really say anything bad about this book because even the assholes were likable. The love interest was supposed to be this strong assholey personality, but I still liked him. And so the story progression was great. The banter between the mains was witty. And yeah, I can't say anything bad about her because I am completely in love with Lucy Parker, and it actually made me want to read the entire series, which is why all of the books here are by her, because I ended up reading one after the other after reading Act Like It because she is great. Can you see the heart emojis in my eyes? She is true love. She is reliable in her storytelling, and I can't really complain. The second title is Pretty Face, which is still by Lucy Parker, and I have to commend the consistency in Parker's writing. It wasn't as earth-shatteringly sarcastic as Act Like It, but overall it was still a great read. The portrayal of the London theater scene was excellent. It wasn't too heavy or too harsh in laying out the dynamic of the industry. There was no information dumping or anything. It was just light and witty. Parker has a great balance between light-hearted moments and necessary tension for the plot points in this particular book. And Parker in general has this sort of smooth way of transitioning between the attraction phase in a love story and then them falling in love eventually. The transition between those 2 points are very smooth when it comes to Parker and how she writes it. I don't know how she does it, but I didn't even notice, and you just sort of... It wasn't harsh. I don't know how to say it. It wasn't harsh. And I think that is a talent. The third title is the Austin Playbook. Since I have read Act Like It and Pretty Face and hold Parker to a higher standard, this book sort of felt average to me. Only because I hold Parker to a higher standard. And it led me to become sort of nitpicky with writing style because reading her previous books, I have regarded her as a very reliable, engaging writer. And compared to her other books, this just sort of felt a little on the average side. I previously commended Parker's ability to transition from attraction to falling in love smoothly. It didn't happen here for Austin Playbook. Griff and Freddie were evidently attracted to each other, but falling in love after one experimental kiss thing, it felt a bit forced to me. And it didn't really go along with the Parker method. For most of the first half of the book, it kind of felt like Freddie was almost dragging words out of Griff's mouth. The interactions between them sort of felt stilted. Sometimes I feel like Freddie would sort of talk at Griff, and then Griff would just be stoic, no thoughts, no reactions, none whatsoever. And for someone who's in love with you or heading towards that, it didn't make sense for me. And some of the dialogue between the two of them almost felt like they didn't mesh well together, and it was coming out in what they were saying to each other, if that makes sense. It was conflicting because they were attracted to each other. There was no lack of chemistry, so I don't know why the dialogue came out like that. Creating a stoic love interest is always a dicey, very complicated art for me, because out of all the books that I've read, the stoic character is always the hardest to do right, because stoic characters can sometimes seem a bit uncaring almost, unless their actions or some other device would claim otherwise. Some authors would prefer to write in a man's POV to remedy that. I do not know why Griff was like that. Okay, so another point that I have for this book is that a lot of the text revolved around musings by Freddie about things that already happened. In terms of moving the story forward, it didn't really help. The quick wit from Act Like It didn't show as prominently anymore, although the basic things that I love about Parker's writing were still written excellently. There was just a bit of difference between this and the other two books. It just was not up to scratch compared to the other two books, that is. Although I do have to say that with Parker's writing, her average is still miles and miles better than other authors' best.